We're excited to have you join us today for the latest webinar of the Nightwatch Master Integrator series, a webinar experience designed to level up your security knowledge and integration skills. My name is Unity. I'm the marketing specialist here at Nightwatch and your Nightwatch host for the day. So you may be wondering, why are we doing this webinar? In today's fast-evolving world, staying ahead in security requires expert insights, practical strategies, and real-world solutions. The series is designed to bring you helpful information, best practices, innovations, and actionable tips to enhance your organization's security systems. So without further ado, get ready to learn, engage, and take your expertise to the next level. So let's dive in. Today's agenda, we're going to have a partner presentation, a representative from Nightwatch and our partner Genea talk about how cloud-native access control saves you time and money. Then we're going to follow with a Q&A for all of you to ask your pressing questions regarding the access control that Genea provides. The Q&A is dedicated, there's time allotted at the end for the Q&A, so we encourage you to use the Q&A function to ask questions that are top of mind for you. Now I would like to introduce you to our presenting partner and our Nightwatch representative from Genea. Please welcome Product Senior Vice President Mike Maxenti, and our Nightwatch co-host, Senior Account Executive, Brandon Hoig. Take it away, Max and Brandon.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks, Unity.
Yeah, thank you very much, Unity. My name is Brandon Hoig, Account Executive here at Nightwatch. I've recently been working with Mike Maxenti on just scoping out and looking at Genea. Want to give your introduction, Mike?
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. So I'm Mike. I'm the co-founder and head of product here at Genea. And really looking forward to today's presentation. We'll go through hopefully some enlightening topics and talk a little bit about sort of how cloud changes like the cost structure for companies managing physical security.
Yeah, one of the my favorite things is just how easy Genea is to use, and we're going to be going in and talking about just overall how easy it is to move from existing Mercury platforms, and there's so much to cover. So go right ahead.
Yeah, so we've already done the speakers and the agenda. So I'm gonna go ahead and dive in a little bit about a couple key topics around the theme, of course, of today, which is cutting complexity and cost and how cloud based systems can enable that for customers. So one of the things that led us to even start in physical security. So I'll give a quick story, right? From my co-founder and I we started the business our senior year of college. And the question we often get is like, how do two kids in college decide to build an enterprise access control system? And the simple answer is you don't, right? No college kid is sitting around thinking about the world of physical security. What ended up happening was we had an aha moment, if you will, around visitor management for apartment buildings, and we built a visitor management solution to solve that. And we got exposed to the access control side of things because our first investor was a systems integrator in the Southeast selling a legacy on-prem system and wanted a really easy to use modern cloud-based system he could sell to customers to get rid of all the servers that he was running in his basement for his customers. And so that's how we kind of got into the whole world of cloud-based access control and physical security management. And when he showed us the stack of servers in the basement and the Windows machine that was running the client applications, what we saw was just it felt like a time machine going back in time. Really like old .NET user interface, sitting next to it, a rack of servers running the access control system, and we said, "Wow, we could." There's definitely some room for innovation here. Now, this is 2014, mind you. Um, and so since then, we just got brought into this world where everything was done manually. You're deploying a new site. Okay, you're either racking a server or you're doing a whole bunch of networking configuration to pipe the data feeds into a master server at a different physical location. Adding and removing every single person was being done manually. Building reports was a manual exercise, and systems just weren't evolving. The system that we were interacting with in 2014 was the same as it was in 2010. Very, very minimal innovation going on. I realized I just had a lack of innovation there twice. But oops. But there's just so much manual work, lack of innovation that was happening. And so what we wanted to do was really start with a fresh approach, and we had a blank canvas to play with. So we built everything starting in the cloud from day one. We weren't taking an old, code base that was built on a server architecture and then copying and pasting it into an AWS instance. We were truly starting from scratch. And so what it allows us to do is twofold. One is abstract all of the infrastructure management away from the customer, so they don't have to do intense networking or server management. You're patching, you're buying SQL licenses, you're getting the latest software version, going through revision management. All of that goes away. We handle all the infrastructure side for you, and then you don't have to deal with things like scalability issues, where if you're starting to get to thousands of doors, you're adding in multiple comm servers and trying to, again, network all the traffic back to a single application server or database server. It's so much complexity that customers have to deal with, and then you start to get to the limits of that comm server's capabilities, and the system starts to slow down. You can't add more doors. You got to get another server, so all that goes away. The other thing that it allows us to do is really blow the doors off the pace of innovation, because we can build and deploy new features without having to QA it against a 2 million lines of code and a single code base. We can just say, oh, you need an Avigilon Alta integration. Cool. We can start building that from scratch, deploy it on its own dedicated Avigilon Alta integration server, and then bring it into the network. So we can just move so much faster when it comes to building new product for customers. Last year, we launched 55 new features and 8 new integrations. Whereas most legacy platforms are building 1 or 2 new features a year, if it's not like custom for a specific customer. So it just completely changes the paradigm from an infrastructure management perspective. To give you guys a high level view of what that looks like, there's no intermediary gateway device or server in between your Mercury controllers and the cloud. We pass all the traffic through the network up to our cloud directly. So again, it's about limiting that physical footprint that the customer has to manage and secure, which reduces, again, cost and complexity. We have some customers that require them to purchase time from their own internal IT team to help with the network management and device management. And that can run into the 6 or 7 figures. I've seen one customer that's spending $4 million a year just on their internal IT reconciliation budget for infrastructure management of physical security. Those days are gone with a cloud-based system.
And it just gives everyone their time back. I mean, it's crazy how much time everybody's gotten back with not having to manage all of those different servers, all of those different network integrations and whatnot. And it's just, you can actually focus on what truly matters with your job moving forward. So.
Right. Exactly. Most people, in physical security aren't paid to do the infrastructure management. They're paid to do the physical security job and keeping their organization safe, monitor events, make sure that there's no issues, not patching and maintaining those servers. The other thing that, it's like we're kind of sitting in this world today in 2025 where our entire personal lives and the entire corporate enterprise IT stack has moved to the cloud, but there still seems to be this like, cat on a blanket effect with the physical security side of things. And really want to kind of align like why this transition has happened in everything else in our lives. Whereas maybe it's lagging in the physical security world. you know if you're starting a business today and you're like, hey, we need to build a marketing or we need to deploy a marketing software to orchestrate our marketing campaigns, or we need a CRM system so that our sales team can manage all of our accounts and do sales. You would never dream of like buying another, rack mounted server and deploying software for your CRM on-prem. You would just go buy HubSpot or Salesforce or n number of cloud-based systems. And the reason for that is because it redounds back to the infrastructure and security management. So with a cloud-based system, you have a much more predictable fixed and lower fixed cost structure, versus with on-prem, you have to have so much extra staffing and man hours that go into all of the infrastructure, plus unnecessary support contracts for managing that stuff. It just creates this whole sort of under the water iceberg effect of cost that people at the finance level and the sort of leadership level understand, but hasn't really permeated into the physical security world. But the same effects are still there, right? The iceberg of costs is much shallower on a cloud-based system, because of you're not dealing with this sort of exposure to unknown complexity and cost below the surface. So that's if as true as any other vertical of software as it is in physical security. And this is one of the things that we're seeing now, transition faster and faster for customers as this realization has started to permeate into the security organizations that we deal with. So that's kind of our big takeaway on the infrastructure side. Get rid of it, which gets rid of a lot of the cost and complexity for customers. The other thing, of course, that we believe wholeheartedly in is being built on non-proprietary systems. So the Genea platform is built on Mercury hardware versus anything like proprietary hardware, which really leaves the optionality and flexibility in the hands of the customer. It's a double-edged sword, right? It allows us to help customers that are on Mercury-based systems make this transition from on-prem to cloud without having to rip and replace all their controllers and their readers. But it also keeps us honest, right? Because if we can take over someone else's system, well, there's 30 other vendors out there that could take over a Genea system if we're not, doing our job and maintaining the value of the product for the customer. So we wholeheartedly believe that being based on Mercury is the right way for customers now and well into the future. So I'll talk a little bit about what those migrations look like, because I know customers are oftentimes very reticent or fearful of what that change management process looks like and disruption to the organization. So I'll take us through a big example of how these types of Mercury-based system migrations go. I'm going to skip ahead actually to that, and we'll come back to some of those other slides. Our largest ever Mercury migration was Target Corporation. They were on a Mercury-based access control system for 18 years before they called us and said, hey, we're opening up an RFP process to evaluate cloud-based solutions. And they had 142 sites in 18 countries with just about 200,000 cardholders on that system. And from the time we won the RFP and the contract was signed to fully migrating them off of that legacy Mercury-based system, it was 5 months. And the process really of the 5 months was 3 months of planning and database migration and cleanup, and then 6 weeks of actually cutting over sites. At one point, we were doing 6 site cutovers a day once we kind of got the wheels in motion there. But these Mercury transitions are a lot, I think, simpler and less disruptive than most people give it credit for or are aware of. Because all we're really doing to the controller is changing its networking configurations. We mirror the database, and then we just go to the controller and say, hey, instead of talking to this server on-prem or in your corporate network, you're going to talk out to our Genea cloud. So when you make that switch, the database is already on the controller. We have it mirrored in the cloud. Once the connection switches, we just send an update file to the controller and you're good to go. So there's really, only a minute or two of downtime, if that, when you do that cutover. But that's kind of the process.
And on the other end of the spectrum, we performed a migration from another on-prem Mercury platform about 6 months ago, where it was small. It only had 7 sites with a total of, I want to say it was around 40 doors, but from start to finish, from building the quotes, getting approvals, to having all sites over to Genea, it took 3 weeks for us. It was so fast. There's definitely a lot of planning. That was definitely one of those one-off scenarios, but it is possible to do it in that short of amount of time, depending on size and capabilities and what all is included in the system that we're migrating. So,
yeah, I think that's a great point, right? What we're saying is it's not quote unquote easy to do this. It requires a ton of work, to do the database migration, to clean it up, to do the project plan and make sure that, everything is in order before you actually change the controller's configuration. But the actual, like, the downtime is almost nothing, maybe a minute or two when you're doing that switch over. But yes, tons of prep work to make that transition smooth, of course.
Yeah, with the note on it being easy, really, yeah, you're 100% correct. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot of time and dedication, but for the end user, it was so easy for them. It was easy for them to manage. It was easy for them to sit back, let us take care of all of it. And then as long as we have all of that necessary information and we work together for those steps of planning, we're able to take it and just make it really easy for you as the end user. So,
well, I think that's a perfect segue going back to like because the integration side of it is part of what goes into that migration strategy. So, and it's also one of the benefits of being a cloud-based system, right? With on-prem legacy systems, setting up integrations to anything else in your corporate IT stack, whether it's identity management systems, your video management system, your corporate, chat system for setting up alerts. All of that is either extremely difficult and expensive to do with an on-prem system, whereas in the cloud, we can set up an Active Directory integration in a matter of minutes. So the ease of integration is very powerful. It drops the cost of setting up that integration almost to zero, which when you have zero cost, you really open up the aperture of what you can do with a system. So, like, out of the box in Genea, for no additional charge, you have access to Enter ID or Active Directory or Okta for user provisioning automation. And so when you talk about the value of a system, if your org is spending hundreds of man hours a month or dozens of man hours a month just doing the new hire ads, the termination deprovisionings, just the adding and removing of users, and then of course the lost badge card updates and access right updates, all the manual work that comes with that, you can automate almost 95 to 100% of that work by integrating your system of record to the access control system. So I'll give you another example, like customer like Shopify. So Shopify has 12,000 employees around the world, and they automated 100% of the provisioning and deprovisioning of not just the users in their system, but also credentialing, because they, of course, went to Genea. They set up an Okta integration that handles the provisioning and the deprovisioning and also the access right assignment based on the group mapping. And then they said, we're going to go from physical cards to digital cards. So now instead of having to have people come in, get their photo taken, have a team of people print the badge, assign the access rights, and then hand back a card, they're just sending them a digital credential when they get hired. So when you combine the identity management provisioning integration with digital credentials, you can automate nearly 100% of that manual work. And going back to your earlier points, like really the physical security team's job is to manage the physical security and monitor the cameras, monitor the alarms, triage incidents and alarm management rather than printing physical badges and shipping them through UPS. And we'll talk a little bit about the digital credentials in a bit, but it all comes back to like, what is the ROI of the system? And the ROI of like a cloud-based system is to reduce the amount of manual work that gets wasted on manual tasks that distract from doing the core job of the physical security team. And so that is yet another way in which we help free up our customers' time to focus on the core job rather than the unfortunate side effects of the systems that they are operating today. I'll wrap up quickly on this. So we have 15 different video management systems that we integrate with as well. It's part of our sort of approach to the market, which is to be this open interoperable platform rather than like a vertically integrated hardware and software system, which gives our customers so much flexibility, especially in those migrations. Right? A lot of customers are, they've got dozens of video management systems if they've been acquiring companies that have, different systems, or they've got a VMS that they love today. It does exactly what they needed to do at the price point they needed to do it. We don't force customers to make that transition. We 9 out of 10 times have that existing integration already, and they can just quickly integrate it to Genea. And those are available at no additional cost. So if you've got like a Vigilon Alta system with hundreds of cameras on it, and you want to integrate it to your Genea platform, great. Like no questions asked, just go to the integrations page, input the necessary authentication system tokens to set up the integration and map the cameras to the doors of the alarm monitor inputs on our system. There's no like extra licensing that you have to go pay for. It's all included. So it's easier and it's cheaper. We see tons and tons of customers who are like, yeah, I have a milestone system, but I can't integrate to the access control system because I'm going to get double charged on both sides for the integration. Then they switch to Genea and it's like, no questions asked, just go ahead. So that's, again, part of that, paradigm shift, if you will, of moving to a cloud-based platform. Then there's dozens of other integrations we could go through, but I'll leave it there. Video, identity, Slack, and Teams if you want notifications from the platform. So lots and lots of integrations.
Yeah, there's also on the Genea website, if anybody wanted to see, you can go to the actual website. It's a public page, and you can see the full list of integrations that are available there. So
yeah, absolutely. The next topic I think is a hot topic in the industry today that is only starting to really get it into its maturity of adoption, is this concept of a digital credential rather than a physical card. And we've since 2015, we're the first ever access control system to integrate HID mobile as like a native integration from the access control system. So we've been a little bit on the bleeding edge here, you could say, for the last decade. Oftentimes people would call us crazy, like, why do you guys keep talking about digital credentials? And it really goes back to that Shopify story, right? They went from managing physical cards for, at that time, 8,000 employees in 2020 when they first switched to Genea. Now they've grown to 12,000 employees 5 years later. But 100% physical cards to 100% digital. And it just allowed their team, they don't have like a massive team for having 12,000 people. Their security management team is only like 12 people. And it was becoming unbearable to manage the physical card process for their org. They literally had a badging station at every office, and 2 people had to sit there and take the photos and print the badges and update the access rights. When they switched to digital, those two people at every office now got to actually do the job that they wanted to do when they were hired, which is manage the physical security of Shopify, not be the glorified badge printers. And so that's such a powerful ROI when you can scale from 8,000 to 12,000, adding 4,000 employees in 5 years and not have to grow, the physical security team, in a linear way with that, organizational growth. It just allows you to take your budget and stretch it so much further because you don't have to spend it on people to print badges. You can spend it on people to do more actual physical security work or tools and software that you need to continue to scale in other areas. So it's such a powerful story. I mean, we could go down a litany of other examples, companies like Jamf or HubSpot. Even now, we've finally broken the mold with Target, and they're starting to transition their corporate employees to digital badge. But I can go through all these examples of companies finally having that light bulb, moment and going, oh yeah, like it's not about the cool factor, although it's pretty sweet to use your phone as a credential. It's about the increase in security because it eliminates a lot of risk factors on the physical badge, but also that operational efficiency of not having to print and ship and update all these physical badges all the time. So that's why I keep harping on the digital credential train. Like this is about organizational efficiency and scalability, not just the cool factor of using a phone.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Like it all goes back to cloud versus on-prem, right? This is the exact same concept as all of your different servers, the database server, comm server, all of the linkages you have to have and those man hours in your IT and networking teams. The $4 million scenario that you mentioned, this is, one very expensive badge printer with when you have your two people just managing that when they're supposed to be managing physical security. So, it all goes back to the getting time back for the person at the end using this. So,
right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's all about time and resource efficiency. We've talked about most of this. So I want to touch on a couple other things that the cloud enables. So from a support perspective, this is also massive for orgs, right? Once you start to get above like 1,000 employees, typically is what I see, training and support become a huge deal. Because you have turnover that you're managing and you hire a new employee and you train them as best as you can, but ultimately like they can only retain so much knowledge. You only have so much time to do the training. Where with Genea, because it's a cloud-based system, we have a really cool support module in the bottom right of the corner of every screen for every user in the system. They can just live chat with our support team and get answers to questions or let us know that there's an issue and we can resolve it with them completely digitally. And it's a huge benefit to the customer. Again, going back to the fact that they don't have the time to train everybody. People don't forget or people don't remember everything that you tell them, of course. Like that's the bane of all of our existences. But, you could drop a new operator into the system. And if they retain 60% of what you tell them, that 40% gap gets filled with live chat. Right? How do I update, access rights for an individual? How do I invite a guest? How do I map a camera to a door? All of that is available with live chat support in the platform, again, at no additional charge. I'm going to have to start charging for something somewhere in this. Like, we don't charge for integrations, don't charge for support, but it really is another paradigm shift of support because if you remember back to our founding story, our first investor was a dealer for a legacy on-prem access control and video system. And for his customers to get support directly from the OEM, they have to call him, he has to call them. Then they check like, does this customer still have their support, contract in place? Okay, cool. Did they get certified? No. Okay, well, until they're certified, I can't help you, right? That whole chain of support and the mashugana of, did you pay for the licensing for support? Did you get certified? All that goes away. And you can just have that live chat, support experience, like we, expect from most other systems that we deal with today, right? It's hard to imagine buying a system that wouldn't come with some form of live chat or direct support these days, but somehow this is still okay in physical security. And we're dedicated to breaking that paradigm. So that's again another big shift for customers, looking for value in this transition from on-prem to cloud, right? You're going to get such a better support experience that reduces the amount of drag on the organization, because every day you wait for a resolution or an answer to a question is a day or hour that you're not spending doing, again, the core job of what you need to do. So that's a big one. The final paradigm shift, I think that is hyper relevant today is this, transition to or the introduction of AI into everything in the world, right? So it's no different here at Genea. And again, being cloud-based system, it allows us to introduce this years ahead of what a legacy system might be able to do. So we're using AI in a number of different ways in the Genea platform. So one is that customer support experience is AI enabled first, right? You start a chat, it'll chat with you with AI, and then you can switch to a live agent if you need to. But we're bringing it actually into the product experience. So this month we're launching Genea AI, or Genny, as we're calling it, and that will do a couple of things. It'll start with how you build reports and get analysis and insights from your data. So you'll be able to chat with it and prompt like, hey, I need to understand the attendance for all of our offices for the last 60 days. And it will build that analytic report for you, just like you would prompt ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. So reporting and analytics enabled by AI. So you don't have to do it all in Excel anymore or in our reporting module. It'll also start to learn your alarms and your activity and start to pick out anomalies. Like, hey, why is Jim badging into a server room on a Saturday? He's never badged in on a Saturday in his life. It'll create alarms based on anomalies that it detects. And this is a frontier that we're going to cross, I think, sometime at the end of Q1 next year, but it'll start to be able to perform tasks for you. So if you have a big event coming up, you can give it a CSV file and say, invite all these guests for me. Things like that. Now, the reason I say that we're not going to cross that frontier until end of Q1 next year is because that requires a lot of guardrails. So if you feed it, you don't want people to just accidentally prompt it into deleting every card holder in your system. So we're parting a lot of, it'd be pretty bad. So we're putting a lot of guardrails around this, but that is a frontier that we'll eventually be crossing. And again, it's all enabled by being cloud first, right? If you cannot deploy an AI system with an on-prem system unless you have very advanced like network and software engineers in your organization, just because of the data management, the deploying of the models, training the models, and optimizing them. All of that is much easier in the cloud than it is with an on-prem type system. So, to give you a sense of like what the architecture here looks like, we're ingesting, all the events and stuff from your device's dash, where there's card readers, IoT sensors, cameras, and then that goes into the Genea cloud. And then you say, hey, I need an attendance chart for all attendance at the offices for the last 90 days. We basically call out to Claude and Gemini and Llama and say, here's the prompt. Give me back the SQL query that would answer this person's question. Then we run that SQL query on the data in the machine inside of our cloud. So your data is not leaving the cloud to go out to the third-party LLMs to do this. We're just using those LLMs to basically write an application code and script that then runs the analysis query for you. And then we run that on our server and generate the query and send you back the results. So it's, again, really, I think only possible with a cloud-based system to start to engage with this new frontier of how AI can transform how we manage physical security and provide insights and data to the rest of the organization around the security team. So if there's no other topics, Brandon, you want to discuss, I can dive in on the product and show show our friends here a little bit about what it looks like inside the system.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, I have a list of a few questions too. I mean, you've already covered a lot of them, but one thing I do want to jump back to is the slide that you showed that had the Mercury hardware on there. I just want to let everybody
Sure.
know it had the yeah, that one. So it has the red boards and then the new black boards by Mercury. But one thing great about Genea that I think is a huge differentiator, because there's other systems that take over Mercury hardware, but the only one that I'm aware of is that can take over the green boards is Genea. So if you have the old outdated, I mean, extremely outdated green EP series Mercury boards, then you can still take those over with Genea.
Yep.
So just want to make that very clear there. It's not just these two boards.
Yeah, it's a good point, right? So we're one of the few systems that can handle both EP, LP, and MP series Mercury panels within the same customer environment at the same time. And it's largely because of how we like manage our version of comm servers, right? We route the traffic based on EP, LP, and MP once it hits our cloud into different comm servers that handle each of the series of Mercury boards dynamically. So that's how it works in parallel. Whereas if you're using a another Mercury-based OEM software product, the versions of those products dictate which versions of EP, LP, and MP series you can operate, and you can't usually do them concurrently without, again, spinning up different comm servers and running different versions of their software at the same time, which creates all sorts of downstream database problems and application management problems. But with Genea, it's seamless. Now, if you have EP boards, you 100% need to start thinking about getting the capital budget to upgrade because you're running TLS 1.1, which is effectively unencrypted at this point and a huge network vulnerability. But you can bring them in, and then once the capital budget cycle comes up for upgrade, you can then make that upgrade. So we don't force that upgrade at the migration. What's nice about this is if you're hey, I'm struggling to do this in the system, and all of our support chats feed into our product management system, and so as soon as support tags it as like, hey, this is a feature request or enhancement, that feeds over to our product org, and then we can take that and ingest it and evaluate how it's going to fit into our roadmap. But we're definitely staying a lot closer to like customer requests and needs through this live chat function. We're not going to get into like the super nitty gritty of like how you add access rights and all that stuff. It does all that. I want to touch on what's kind of unique and different, and then we can open up to Q&A if people want to see how you create schedules and access groups. We can do it then. So the platform starts with this kind of global overview dashboard. It's fully customizable, so you can drag and drop different widgets into here based on what you want to see and control from the system. So I've got like a little bit of a single site GSOC dashboard here. I've got the cameras for our entrance doors here. You can see the alarm feed or the access log live feed. So if I click on this camera link in the access log feed, it will pull through the event from the VMS and show Nicole badging in here at our front door. So you can instantly review events. If I have a door forced alarm like this one, I can click on that camera link. And the cool thing about this example is that was actually two different VMSs that we were pulling from. One was a Vigilon Alta, which you're looking at here. The other one was Milestone. And so if you have different VMSs running concurrently, it basically gives the same product experience in Genea with the integrations. And now I can see, this wasn't a serious door force alarm. It was just the cleaning crew. I can go ahead and acknowledge that alarm and clear it from the queue. So without navigating around to different areas of the product, you can do so much just from this customizable dashboard, including clear alarms, add or remove users, trigger lockdowns, invite guests. That's the power of this like custom dashboard system. You can have multiple dashboards as well. So if you're trying to build insights or understand attendance trends, like here's weekly average traffic across our sites right here, or daily attendance. And if I click on this chart, it'll give me here's everybody who's on site, and then I can export that to a CSV. So if I need to do any type of muster report or submit a report of attendance at that site, you can just click on the chart and it will give you a list of everybody who's there. And then you can export to CSV. Here's like a trend graph of attendance by day. So just a lot of stuff that we found customers were doing in Excel to give to the head of real estate or the CFO for understanding attendance at each office for space planning, right? We're just delivering right here inside the platform. In fact, here's an office attendance graph right here. So lots of different stuff you can do inside of the system with our custom dashboards. One of the things that customers love is how easy integrations are to set up. Like, I wasn't blowing smoke earlier. It's if you want the Okta integration, all you have to do is come in here, grab the API token, go to the Okta dashboard, and link your two systems together. It takes about 10 minutes for any Okta admin to do all this. And then once you've set that up, you can then feed in all of your employees automatically to the system. So now we have a group set up in Active Directory. As soon as we have a new hire, they get dropped into this group by ADP, which is our HR system. And then ADP goes to Active Directory to Genea, new hires onboarded in the system, and then it assigns their physical access rights automatically, and it sends them a mobile key. So that's that full automation of a user provisioning cycle with the Active Directory integration. We're adding their user profile, we're assigning their access rights, and then we're sending them a mobile key. And what those mobile keys look like is here on the right side of my screen. So once that loads, of course, come on, Apple. Hey, there we go. So here's the Genea app. You get a digital credential, and then you can add it to Apple or Google Wallet. And we can also do really cool custom branding. So like here's the Shopify corporate badge, or here's the Target corporate badge. So you can have it custom branded to your org. But again, that gets all delivered through that automated workflow when the new hire is onboarded. So that's a little bit about what the digital credential experience looks like. Coming into integrations again, so you have SAML SSO right here. If you have a Bosch intrusion system, we have an integration for that out of the box. Video intercom support, so any SIP-enabled video intercom, whether it's A-phone, 2N, Access Door Station, they can all be integrated to our platform. We have notifications through Slack, Teams, or WebEx. So if you want to set that up here, you can, let me go to the Slack one, which is what we use. So with the Slack integration, you can flag on by location which alerts you want to receive and which channel you want them to go into in Slack. So if you want like your door force alarms or your people badging in without access alarms to go to a Slack channel for a particular site or in general, you've got that here as well. And then of course, all of our video integrations that are self-service, so like a Vigilante Alta, you just come into here, select which door and which camera matches that from your VMS system, set up that mapping for the event, live stream, etc. So tons and tons of integrations available out of the box from Genea. So that's just a flyover view of the platform. But given that we only have like 13 minutes left, I figure we open up to Q&A, see if there's anything that people want to see in detail or other questions they may have.
Thank you so much, Mike, for that overview. There are a few questions in the Q&A. The first one is, can you set up homepage layouts and assign them to user groups?
Yeah, great question. So the ability to create and assign dashboards, we'll have that released, I think, here in the next couple of months. We're just in the final phase of development on that. Right now, these dashboards are created at the user level. And then the visibility of like what you can see and add to your dashboard is controlled here under custom roles. So you can set up a custom role and flag on which features they have access to. But then it's up to that user to then drag and drop those elements into their dashboard if they want them. So the ability to create them and assign them to groups is coming shortly.
Thank you. And then the second question is, can you add inputs from existing fire alarm system to auto-generate a muster report and send it to a distro when activated?
You can certainly bring in any physical input to the system or digital input if you're using the Bosch B series or G series panels. That can trigger a lockdown. And then when a lockdown occurs, you can set up a notification to go out to admins for when a lockdown is occurring. Let's say you need a report, like an attendance report on a regular schedule. You can come in and create that report. Say, I need this report of attendance every month, and then it needs to go on a schedule to a distribution group. So we can say, on the last day of the month, it needs to go to HR and security at 5 a.m. on the last day of the month, and it will auto-generate that report and send it. But there's no like, hey, if this alarm trigger goes off, like send this report automatically. Right now, it's just time-based.
Would we be able to create a custom report where if fire alarms went off, it's literally just reporting how many times this input was triggered? Is that a possibility? Okay, maybe that's the way we can do it. Not full mustering, but you'd be able to create reports within this dashboard simply for how many times this input went off, which we could bring in any output from a fire alarm panel. We'll just have to get fire alarm vendors coordinated and create it that way.
John, you had a question about specific vertical markets as a good fit. I mean, it's hard to answer this question. Like our board likes to ask me this question a lot. Like, hey, where are we good? Where are we not? We have customers in basically every vertical, whether it's 40 plus hospitals with Tenet Healthcare, or now over 2,000 retail stores with Target, plus corporate offices and data centers with Target. Our best fits are usually companies that have 1,000 or more employees and like 5+ offices. That's like a good sweet spot for us. At like 1,000 to 20,000. Like the mid-market enterprise. We do have a few Fortune 50 customers that span the gambit of like what they do, whether it's retail or technology. We have a lot of universities, K through 12 school districts. I would say the ones that we're not suited for, let's start there, right? Rather, because there's so many that we are suited for. The ones that we're not suited for is like, we're not FedRAMP certified, so we're not doing any like federal government work. Definitely can't do that. There's like, if you need any like offline management, right? We can't do any like remote offline systems because everything is cloud-based. You do need an internet connection for it to really function properly. So I would say those are like the ones that we're really not suited for. But other than that, like we span the verticals pretty widely at this point. It's been 11 years.
You bring up a great point for offline systems. What happens when if you have a network outage?
Yeah, great question. So the controllers themselves host the local database. Like when anyone's badging in, that decision is not being made in the cloud. The decision is being made at the controller level. So if the network connection goes offline, the controller still operates on all of its configurations already. It has all the card holders, their access permissions. It has the IO rules, already running on it. So you badge in, it'll still work. If you pull an emergency button, it'll still trigger the lockdown and activate the outputs for the alarm sounders and all that stuff. It records all those events up to about 80,000 events, and then when it comes back online, it sends us back a report basically of like, here's everything that happened while I was offline, and then it asks for an update file. So it still fully functions offline, and then it just gets an update when it comes back online.
All for joining today's webinar. A special thank you to Mike and Brandon for joining us to share valuable information on Genea's product. We hope you find the session informative and helpful for future decision making. If you're interested in learning more about Genea's cloud native access control, schedule a meeting with us to keep the conversation going. With that, thank you so much for joining us for this webinar today. We hope you have a wonderful day and rest of your week.